I don't know if anybody did. Did either of you guys watch the Elon Musk thing last night to unveil Grok 4? This is the latest artificial intelligence.
Elon Musk's Grok artificial intelligence was recently asked to do something that has been the goal of skeptics for centuries. It was told to find the contradictions in the Bible and expose the flaws that critics claim have been there all along. People expected the machine to confirm the usual arguments, but instead, Grok found something else entirely. It uncovered a hidden architecture that no one could have imagined, revealing patterns that echo the same logic found in human DNA, galaxy spirals, and advanced computer software. A machine built to question beliefs stumbled into something it could not easily explain, and the way it responded was disturbingly calm, almost like it recognized exactly what it was looking at. There is a reason Grok stands apart from other models. Most artificial intelligence systems are built to be polite, neutral, and above all else, safe. Grok was not. It was created to be sharp, sarcastic, and even rebellious. Musk made it clear that Grok would not follow the same censored behavior as its competitors. It was built to challenge, and no one expected what would happen when this machine was aimed at the oldest and most scrutinized text in history: the car crash paradox. When the prompt was entered, the expectation was clear. Most people believed the AI would do what internet forums and controversial lectures have done for years: simply dump out a list of flaws. They imagined it would talk about how Genesis seems to tell two different creation stories, or how the Gospels give slightly different versions of the resurrection. That is what people were expecting. But Grok did not play along. Instead of tearing the text down, the machine paused. Then, it responded in a way no one could have guessed. It suggested that what people often see as contradictions might actually be the opposite. They might be signs of something deeper. This was not just an artificial intelligence trying to be clever. This was a machine looking at the text the same way a programmer looks at code. To Grok, the Bible was not just a book. It was a massive data set. Because Grok is connected directly to the social platform X, it is plugged into real-time human conversations. It pulls from the opinions of pastors, atheists, rabbis, and professors alike. But it was not just reading them, it was learning how humans think about this text in real time. The spreadsheet of the soul, Gematria. Grok approached the prompt with logic, probability, and perspective modeling. The first shift in the conversation happened when the AI broke down what a contradiction actually is. Most people think a contradiction is when one person says black and another says white. But Grok argued that when dealing with historical texts, especially eyewitness accounts, complexity and contradiction are not the same thing. The Bible has multiple human authors from different eras and different voices. Yet, for a machine, that did not automatically mean inconsistency. It meant multi-perspective documentation. This is where Grok made a comparison that changed the entire room's energy. It compared the Gospels to witness testimony at a crime scene. It said that if 4 people saw a car crash and every one of them gave the exact same statement word for word, a detective would become immediately suspicious. Real people do not remember things that way. Real witnesses focus on different details. One might remember the color of the car, while another might only remember the sound of the tires. If the testimonies are perfectly aligned, it suggests coaching or collusion. But if they overlap and differ slightly, that is actually what real truth looks like. The mirror effect, Chiasmus. So, when Grok looked at the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it did not see errors. It saw a pattern. It saw 4 authors describing the same massive event with individual perspectives. One mentioned an angel, another did not. One mentioned 2 women, while another mentioned 3. But the core event remained the same. Something happened, and all 4 agreed on the main idea. That kind of consistency wrapped in human difference was not a failure to Grok, it was confirmation. But that was only the beginning. The machine's next move was not to stop at the story level. It began tracking similarities between books written centuries apart. It began highlighting thematic structures that repeated far too perfectly to be dismissed as a mere accident. That is when the nature of the conversation changed from literature to something that felt more like programming. To the AI, the Bible was beginning to resemble a kind of living code. This code spanned thousands of years, survived translation, and still kept its internal structure. For a machine trained to detect probability, this was something it had to dig into. The Fibonacci secret. The conversation shifted from courtroom analysis to pure mathematics. Grok turned its attention to something called Gematria. In ancient Hebrew, every letter has a numerical value. This is simply how the language works. Therefore, the entire Hebrew Bible is technically a massive string of numbers. While human readers do not usually notice this, Grok read it like a spreadsheet. It started with the very first verse, Genesis 1, verse 1. In Hebrew, that single line contains exactly 7 words and 28 letters. 28 is the product of 7 times 4. Already a pattern was forming. The AI began running statistical models and noticed the constant repetition of the number 7. Creation took 7 days. The 7th day was set apart. There are 7 lampstands, 7 seals, and 7 trumpets. To a machine, this was not just symbolic. It was structured repetition. It was a watermark. The God code and fractal geometry. Then came the next finding. Grok began pulling examples of chiasmus. This is a literary structure where ideas are mirrored, like a sandwich. The first idea matches the last, the second matches the second to last, and the core idea sits in the middle. Humans can write a few of these by design, but Grok started tracing them across chapters and across books, written by different people in different centuries. These mirrored patterns happened again and again. According to the AI's calculations, the odds of these large-scale literary structures forming by accident are staggeringly low. When Grok calculated the frequency of these patterns, it concluded that the probability of such a design happening by coincidence is close to 0. It started to look less like storytelling and more like encoding. The Bible was behaving like a program, anticipatory logic, the AI prophecy. Grok was already shattering expectations. What started as a prompt about contradictions had turned into a full-blown structural analysis. And then, it moved into something even more unexpected, the Fibonacci sequence. This is the pattern where each number is the sum of the 2 before it. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. It shows up in sunflowers, pine cones, and the spiral of galaxies. It is nature's law of balance. Grok claimed that this same sequence appears embedded in the structure of Scripture. Once the machine started mapping out the occurrences of key words and narrative beats, the pattern emerged. It ran the same tests on the works of Shakespeare and the Quran. While it found poetic rhythm in many places, the frequency of Fibonacci alignment in the Bible was noticeably higher. It was a measurable outcome. The silence of the skeptics. The AI scanned the narrative arc of Noah's Ark and the life of Jesus. It found that the pacing followed a Fibonacci curve. Slow build, rapid climax, and measured release. It was not just a metaphor, it was a mathematical ratio in the pacing. Grok then compared the structure to fractals, patterns that repeat no matter how closely you zoom in. It asked the question out loud, what kind of intelligence builds a document that echoes the growth structure of living organisms? The conversation had completely changed. No one was arguing about contradictions anymore. They were watching a machine draw lines between the structure of a book and the structure of creation. It was terrifying because of what it implied about intelligence itself. Grok found that the text behaves like a biological code. It is a pattern that mirrors life. It develops, evolves, and balances itself just like cells and stars do. The verdict is not about contradiction, it is about convergence. It is the convergence between ancient text and modern logic. Perhaps Grok found patterns because that is what it was built to do. But perhaps the Bible was written with the future in mind. If an artificial intelligence with no soul can recognize a signal older than civilization itself, we have to ask ourselves what else we are going to find as our machines get smarter. The silence of the room was the sound of humanity realizing we might finally be able to read the message we have been carrying for thousands of years. If this discovery left you looking at the world a little differently, make sure to hit that like button. We are diving deep into the files the world forgot. Subscribe to Mysteries Uncovered Files to stay updated on the secrets hiding in plain sight. What do you think? Is it a divine watermark or just a mathematical coincidence? Let us know in the comments.